Welcome back to redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd. I'm your host Mikey, and in today's tutorial we're going to work on this beautiful button-up neck warmer. Now don't be confused by this pattern. You can use this pattern to do a full length scarf. Also, because the way the pattern is written, you can also use this same design in order to do a full-size afghan. So let's get started today, and I'm going to decipher some of the pattern because the pattern appears complicated when you get started, but that's the whole beauty about it. It's not complicated, but it makes you look like a crochet superhero at the end. So let's decipher the pattern right now. When we take a close-up look of this pattern, it's actually working in two different rows. So one row we have a lot of work, and then the other work we don't have much work at all. We're just creating the loops. So if you pull it apart, you can see that there's gapping spaces. So the point here with this row is all the gapping spaces, and then when we come back we're gonna crochet along into the gapping spaces to fill it in. So when we do that, it becomes really cool. Now you will notice that the middle kind of looks like a honeycomb shape, doesn't it? And the reason for that is that the way that we come down into the middle, one of these has an extra stitch, so it forces the row to come down and connect, while the other one doesn't have any give. So what happens is one forces down to connect, pulling up the other one, which makes the beautiful stitch work right in the center. So what we have here is, if you were to repeat the pattern, you're going to be repeating the middle areas all the way across if you decided to do an afghan or even a larger size scarf, and then the edging is always the same. So let's grab our crochet hook today. I found this is one of those patterns where you're gonna want your stitches to be slightly tight. So this is one of those ones, it is asking for a size, what do we have today? Size J, 6.0 millimeter crochet hook today. But this is one of those ones where you'll want the stitches to look relatively tight together and not have too big of a crochet hook. So if you're gonna substitute your yarn, just keep that in mind. Also today I'm gonna be using the Red Heart Boutique Treasure. This is a fabulous color line, and just like you see it transitioning in color, that's how we're getting it today, by using the Red Heart Boutique Treasure. So let's get started. Grab our yarn and let's go. When you're looking at this neck warmer from a perspective of the pattern, you'll see that this is a stitch pattern right here, and people are like, well, how many stitches do you start to get this scarf? So the actual scarf is actually starting down here, chaining up 24. So what happens here is that the chaining of a multiple 7 plus 3 is if you wanted to do it for an afghan or something larger than this pattern. But once you do that, so what happens is a multiple chain of 7. So what happens is you're gonna go 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and keep doing that in your chain, and then at the end you'll finally add 3 more extra chains at the very end of your full size chain. So when we go to work on this one, we're going to be doing the neck warmer, where we're only going to chain 24, and that already includes exactly what you're seeing there. So let's begin. Grab a crochet hook and yarn right now. So let's begin. We are going to chain 24 as per the neck warmer instructions. Let's create our slip knot. I've been leaving a little bit of extra long tails because I've been using those to darn it needle it in afterward. So let's begin. We are just going to robo back. We're just going to yarn over, you could say, and we want a total of 24. Remember that this first one never counts as one. So 1 2 3 and 4 and 5, and continue to do that all the way to 24 for this particular pattern. We're now going to begin row number 1. In row number 1 I'm going to take my time on it because I've taught this in person, and this is one of those projects where it does require you to take time. So row number 1, it says single crochet second chain from the hook. So let's begin to do that. So we're going to take it step by step. So we have 1 and 2, and what I recommend is turn that chain over and get it so that you see the back loop of there. So here's the front side, turn it over, you'll have a nicer look at the end. So just get the one loop like so, grab through and pull through. So that, okay, so now it says, now that we've done our single crochet, we are going to chain 2. So 1 and 2. So let's continue, skip the next 2 chains. So 1 and 2, we're gonna skip there on the bottom, and we are looking at it here. Skip the next 2 chains and then single crochet into the next. So I'm gonna skip 1 2 and single crochet into the next. Right, so we're creating the base for this, just like so. Okay, and so now it says chain now has an asterisk, chain 3 and skip the next chain. So chain 3, 1 2 3, and remember how I said in the intro there's always going to be an extra stitch in one of the rows to pull up? This is it right here. So we're just going to skip 1 chain on the bottom here and go to the next. Right here. And now it says to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we're gonna skip 4 down here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, go to the 5th right here. And I'm starting to have this pattern come back into my brain, so it's actually starting to make sense to me. Single, and then what we have is skip the 4 chain and single crochet into the next and repeat from the asterisk going across. So this is directly into the center of this particular scarf. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and we are only gonna skip 1 again and go to the second one over. And essentially I'm starting to pick up on this because I've already done this several times, is that what happens here is that here's the 4, here's the 3 right into the center, and now we're just gonna repeat exactly what you've done over here going back toward this side but going that way. So now we are going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we skip 4 here on the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, go to the 5th just like you see. Okay, so that makes sense. So there's your 3, here's your 2 4s. Okay, so we have to continue to now chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're gonna skip 1 just like so, like that. And now we are going to chain 2, 1, and 2, and we are going to single crochet into the final chain. And so that works out perfectly. So let's do that. So that would be your first row right here. I know I simplified it, but this is what it will look like. And if you can understand this pattern, this is exactly what we're gonna be doing all the way. But next time we go across this is gonna be a lot easier to identify, and I'll show you the tips in order to make that happen. So let's turn our work. This is row number 2, and row number 2 is part of the repeat pattern on it. I have a hair on my thing, it's bothering me. So what we have here is that we're always gonna start off the same way. So row number 2 is always the same way, and here we go. So we're gonna chain up 3. So this counts as a double crochet. So 1, 2, and 3. And so this row, what we're doing is that we're filling in the solids on these chains that are going across. So we're gonna put 2 double crochets into the first chain 2 space. Right there. And here is my tip for you. Every time we do something like a double crochet or any kind of stitching attaching to this line here, there's always a chain 2 in between all of it. So for example, we have our 2 double crochet, we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. We simply come down to the next chain space here and single crochet. And then we're going to chain 2 again. So 1 and 2. Do you see how this chain forced that to pull up? That's what I was talking about, that this chaining of 3 makes that happen. So now we have our chaining of 2 that we just did, and now this is our gapping of 4 chains. So we're gonna fill this in with 4 double crochets into this space. So let's try that again. So when you're doing the repeat pattern, the only thing that's changing for you is the sides of it. Everything else is the same in the middle. So you would be repeating this 4 and this section right here. So now that we have our 4 in, chain 2, we come into the next gapping space, single crochet. We chain 2, you see that? And then we're back into the next chain 4 space over here on this side. And we're gonna put in 4 double crochets. So it's an easy way to remember that when you had the chaining of 4, that the 4 double crochets will actually follow on top of it. Like so. So remember what I said, chain 2, and then we single crochet into the next. We chain 2. And just like we did on the other side, that when we started with the double crochets on the very edge, we're gonna come in on this side and we're gonna put 2 double crochets in, and then we put 1 double crochet into the final starting there to stabilize that. And so that'd be row number 2. I'm gonna review that once more again, but I'm gonna move up to row number 3 and then repeat it again for you. So this is what it looks like at this point. So let's turn our work and we're gonna move up to row number 3. Row number 3 is easier because this is the area that we're gonna be doing these loops again. So there's an easy way to remember that. So I'm gonna start off first. We're going to chain 1 and it says single crochet into the first double crochet. So we're gonna come right down below onto the first double crochet and do a single. And we need to create these loops just like we did before. So here's how you easily remember how to do this. We're going to chain 2 first, 1 and 2, and we simply come into this next gapping space that you find. Okay, now we are going to chain 3, so 1, 2 and 3, and then we come into the other side of the gapping space. Then we have our 4 here, so I can imagine how many chains? 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then we come on to the other side of that, and then we're in the middle. So the middle here is 1, 2 and 3, and we come on to the other side of the middle, and then look, we have the 4 there, so this is chaining of 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. We come on to the other side of that, and then 1, 2 and 3. We come on to the other side of that, and then we're coming to the very edge. So it's 1 and 2, and then we single crochet into the very beginning. So an easy way to remember that, when you started we had chaining of 2, we went to 3, we went to 4, we were in the center, we went back to 3, 4, 3 and 2. And so if you can keep that in your mind, it makes this pattern a lot more simpler. So let's move along. We're gonna repeat row number 2 again so that you understand this pattern. So let's repeat row number 2. We're simply just going to chain up 3. 1, 2 and 3, and we are going to double crochet into the first gap space like you've already done. So we're gonna double crochet there. And remember what I said to you when we were on the row 2 before. Every time you do a stitch, there's always a chain 2 that separates what that work was. So we chain 2, 1 and 2. We single crochet into this one here, which if you look at it, it's the middle. Do you see that? And then chain 2. Then you can see that there's chaining or the 4 double crochets. This is another 4 double crochet right on top of it. So if you're ever confused, you just have to look under the row below and you can see what's happening. So there's 4 double crochets, and then what's after that? Chaining 2. Then we're back into the center of your scarf right here, and for a single crochet, then chain 2. Okay, we're now back onto the next 4 here, so that means that there's gonna be 4 double crochets. Very good. And now that I've done that, chain 2. Okay, we come into the next gapping area for single crochet, chain 2, and then we're back onto the very edge. So there's gonna be 2 double crochet into there to the gapping space, and then 1 right onto the edge to stabilize that. And so that's the repeating of row number 2. So you can see that the pattern is starting to transition in color, but you can see that it's starting to work out just perfectly. So let's repeat row number 3 one more time. Let's repeat row number 3 one more time, and I want you to understand the counts, because if you can understand the counts, this goes really quickly. So we're going to chain 1 first, and we're going to single crochet into the top of the beginning of the first double crochet that you see. So let's do our counts again. So we're gonna go 1 and 2. We look for the next gap and see how there's 2 there. It's the first one, and single crochet. Now we are going to chain 3. So 1, 2 and 3, and then into the next gap. Now you can see the 4 that's underneath this one. So this is chaining of 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Coming into the next gap on the other side. So this is the middle, so it drops down to 3. 1, 2 and 3. Coming into the other side. You can see the 4 is next, so it's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Coming to the other side, and now we start dropping down again. So 1, 2 and 3, coming to the other side, and then 1 and 2, and then just single crochet into the edge. So if you can understand that counting again of going from 2 to 3 to 4 back down to 3, 4, 3 and 2, you will understand this pattern in no time. So this button up cowl is only 29 inches long. You can make it longer if you wish. You can make this into an Afghan size. This goes really quickly and it looks absolutely amazing when you're done. Until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd. Join me next time for more free patterns and ideas. Until then, we'll see you.